Okay, let's dive right into this. Welcome to today's Explainer. We're looking at a genuinely incredible piece of historical storytelling today. We spend a lot of time on this show analyzing modern survival tactics, hard data, that kind of thing. But today we are exploring an ancient tale where profound empathy, literally just human kindness, disarms a hardened gang of outlaws. It's wild. We're going to see exactly how a simple everyday choice ended up altering the fate of an entire community. So think about this. What would you do if two baskets of wild berries were literally the only thing standing between you and a band of ruthless outlaws? I know, it sounds like the setup to a riddle, right? But we're about to unpack a life or death scenario to see exactly how moral integrity and unshakable character can become, well, the ultimate shield.
Let's move to part one and see how this builds. A village facing starvation.
To really understand the sheer weight of this story, we've got to put ourselves in this desolate area known as Lauhago. Imagine a scorching sun beating down relentlessly day after day. Absolutely no sign of rain in the sky. If we walk through this timeline, you can see the compounding horrors this region was facing. It started over a year prior with a devastating drought. Then, months later, things went from bad to just absolute catastrophe. All the livestock perished, the crops withered away to dust, and the local grain supplies were completely wiped out. The villagers were literally starving. But, as if nature's wrath wasn't enough, the present day brought a totally new terror. Desperation breeds violence, right? So ruthless bandits started roaming the area, burning, looting, and preying on these already starving people. Every single day was just a brutal battle to exist.
Right in the middle of all this misery, we meet our protagonist, Kai Shun. He and his mother were living in extreme poverty, totally relying on each other to survive. But because of this severe drought, his mother had fallen terribly ill. The local wild vegetables they usually ate were running out. They were picked totally clean by the rest of the starving villagers. So, Kai Shan had this horrifying choice to make. He could watch his mother starve, or he could brave the bandit-controlled territories just to find a few scraps of food. Actually, scratch that. For Kai Shun, who was a deeply devoted son, there was no choice at all. He risked his life every single day, wandering further and further into the danger zone.
Moving into part two, the mulberry tree discovery. The daily tension of foraging out there must have been absolutely unbearable. But one day, Kai Shun wanders into this unknown, deeply shaded forest. The air is a little cooler here, the ground's a bit more forgiving, and man, this is where his luck finally turns around. First, he stumbles on a patch of thick, edible wild vegetables. He's so overwhelmed with relief, he actually shouts out, "Thank you, heavens! My mother can finally eat her fill today." He squats down, digging frantically. But then, as he looks up, he notices something almost unbelievable just a short distance away. Two trees, shimmering in the sunlight, completely covered in vibrant red and purple mulberries. Without even a second thought, he scrambles right up the tree. He manages to quickly fill an entire basket with nothing but the darkest, most perfectly ripe purple mulberries. He sprints home as fast as his legs can carry him. And when his mother tastes them, she is overjoyed. For the first time in over a year of brutal famine, she's finally tasting something sweet and nourishing. Kaishun proudly promises her that he's going to go back the very next day with 2 baskets to gather enough food to last them for days.
Which brings us to part 3, fleeing from the bandits.
So, the very next morning, before the blazing heat of the day can even set in, Kai Shan eagerly heads back to the forest with his 2 baskets, totally ready to secure their survival. But the peace of the forest is suddenly shattered. As he's walking along the path, he catches this faint, rhythmic thumping in the distance. He instantly drops to the ground, pressing his ear tightly against the dirt. The sound is unmistakable. Horsebeats, and they are growing louder, rapidly approaching right toward his position. Pure panic sets in. The bandits have arrived. Kai Shan knows exactly what this means. Just 2 days prior, a neighboring village had been completely sacked by a ruthless gang. Coming face to face with them meant almost certain death. There is literally only one option: run. Kai Shan leaps up from the dirt, clutches his 2 heavy baskets tightly to his chest, and just sprints for his life. He pushes his starving body to its absolute limits, scrambling desperately to escape the thunderous approach of the horses right behind him. But let's be real, a starving boy on foot is absolutely no match for armed men on horseback. They close the distance in no time. Seeing him clutching something so desperately, the bandits naturally assume he's hiding valuables. So, the bandit leader rides up alongside him and with a vicious swing, brings his heavy riding whip crashing down on Kaishan. The boy collapses to the dirt in agonizing pain. But here is where the story completely pivots. Even bleeding and battered on the ground, Kaishan absolutely refuses to let go of those two baskets. This brings us to part 4, the secret of 2 baskets. Now, what's really interesting about this next part is the bandit leader's reaction. He dismounts, towering over the boy, fully expecting to uncover some hidden gold or silver. Instead, when he forces Kaishun to open his arms, there's no silver, no gold. Just wild berries. The bandit is completely bewildered. He looks down at the kid and asks a very simple question. Why are these 2 baskets of cheap berries separated? Why is one filled entirely with red berries and the other just with purple ones? Looking up through his tears, terrified but completely resolute, Kaishan answers him. He explains the horrible famine they've been living through and how his mother had fallen so deeply ill. And then he explains that he separated them on purpose. The purple mulberries, he tells them, were fully ripe. They were soft, sweet, delicious. These were meant to change his sick mother's appetite and help her regain her strength. The red mulberries, those were unripe, hard, and terribly sour. He saved those for himself to eat. He falls to his knees, literally begging the bandits to take whatever else they wanted, but to please, please just spare the sweet berries so his mother could survive. Part 5. A bandit's change of heart. This incredibly pure, selfless act, it acted like a jarring, sudden mirror held up to these ruthless outlaws. Remember, these were men who made their living through sheer brutality, just taking whatever they wanted by force. Yet sitting right there in the dirt in front of them is a half-starved kid who willingly took a whipping just to make sure his sick mom got the sweeter fruit. The hardened bandit leader just stands there, deeply, deeply moved. He looks at Kaishun and suddenly he remembers his own mother. He turns back to his violent gang and says, "Who among us does not have parents? Compared to him, we are truly unfilial." And then he reaches down, not to strike the boy again, but to gently pat Kaishun on the shoulder. Part 6, the filial son's reward, and this brilliantly illustrates the fallout of that encounter. It shows the absolute power of character, you know? The bandits' hostility just evaporated entirely. It was replaced by this profound respect. The rewards Kaishan received were, frankly, unprecedented. First off, they've spared his life and let him keep his hard-earned berries. Second, and talk about a shift from thieves to benefactors, they gifted him 2 heavy bags filled with their own food and gold, telling him to go home and take care of his mom. But the third step is the one that's really astounding. Before riding off, the bandits actually carved a large wooden sign. At the top, it read, "Filial Son Village." Below that, they detailed Kaishan's incredible devotion and explicitly warned any other bandit gangs in the area that raiding this particular village was strictly forbidden. The aftermath of this event was truly nothing short of a miracle of survival. The drought rolled on and the whole region remained incredibly dangerous. But through countless subsequent bandit raids that completely ravaged the surrounding territories, Kaishan's village stayed totally safe and untouched. That single wooden sign, born entirely from a boy's love for his mother, basically became an impenetrable wall against the chaos outside. Ultimately, the darkest days did pass. The following spring, the skies over Lauhego finally opened up. The long-awaited spring rains returned, soaking the dry earth, bringing life right back to the crops, and restoring happiness and security to Kaishan, his mother, and their protected village. Which brings us to the final thought I really want to leave you with today. Can a simple, selfless act of love disarm the greatest of threats? Think about it. Kaishan had no weapons. He had no armor, no money. All he had in the world was 2 baskets of berries and his own moral integrity. Yet somehow, it was enough to stop an entire army of outlaws right in their tracks. It's a pretty powerful reminder that sometimes the absolute most impenetrable defense we can ever build is simply our own humanity. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer, and I really hope it leaves you with something profound to think about today.